The first public meeting that I had in January of 2014 with our Board of Education, job one was to determine what we're going to do about capacity in our middle and high schools. The first meeting I presented, okay? Right now at Collierville High School, around 2,160 kids. Next year, 2,300 kids with no growth. The following year, 2,450 kids. In 17-18, 2,600 kids. In a building capacity of somewhere around 2,000. If you use science labs or the state-funded BEP, around 2,150, 2,000 is optimal. Talked to Chip Blanchard, the principal of Collierville High School today, who said, "Boss, we have more families coming in right now enrolling for next year than we've ever had. We have enrolled 10 new ones already this spring for next year." It's a great problem to have, but we've got to solve the problem. I mentioned earlier, looking toward the future, if we build out this community with undeveloped lots as they are now, and they are starting to percolate again, you can ask town officials, it could result in at least an additional 5,400 students. In order to address that capacity, we entered an interlocal agreement with the Germantown Municipal School District. A 3-year agreement. We're completing year 1. Right now we have 679 Collierville residents in the 7th, 8th, and 10th, 11th, and 12th on an interlocal agreement going to Germantown schools. Houston High, Houston Middle. Residents of Collierville, just like you and just like me, who are paying that, if you take a real simplistic look at what that means, $8,000 is our rough estimate of per pupil expenditure, a tad bit less, but I needed an easy math to figure. $4.8 million in revenue is going that way to Germantown Municipal School District. We had to do it. I mean, we did it for a lot of reasons. The number one reason was capacity. We did it for family consistency. I am sensitive to that. You know, you had kids that had already established themselves there, sure. Was it best for them if we could work out something? But boy, I'll tell you a personal story. I was the principal of that school over there for a long time. I reaped the benefits of the quality kids that came to that school. I tried to stay quiet about it, okay? I want all of them. We want all of them. All of our Collierville kids. Here's what you may not know, and you'll hear it a little bit in just a few minutes. Mr. Blanchard, some of his staff are here. We are holding science classes, other classes in labs. We're holding music classes in the halls. We are holding wrestling practice. Take this image, you're going to see the picture of it in a minute, in the cafeteria, not while they're eating. Okay? So our charge moving forward was we've got a problem that we've got to solve, and again, it's a great problem, but in an effort to address that capacity, particularly at the high school, we employed architects from Fleming Associates. Scott Fleming is here tonight. Let's look at the current campus and let's talk about the strengths, the weaknesses, and moving forward, give us some options. So part of the presentation, I'm going to introduce Mr. Fleming. He's going to come up and kind of run through his findings. If you have logged onto our website, it is right there, colliervilleschools.org. The whole presentation, everything that's here. Mr. Scott Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Atkin. I appreciate it very much. First of all, I just want to say it's a real honor and a privilege for us to be a part of planning for the schools in Collierville. We really are looking forward to it. Looking forward to working with our joint venture partner, the Renaissance Group, and Sal's going to talk later on tonight about some other items with the new school, but I do really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. What I'd like to do is spend about 10 to 15 minutes and go over the presentation that I gave the school board on January 27th. They asked us to tell them if we could use the existing high school to accommodate 3,000 students. So we used a very objective methodology developed by the Council of Educational Facility Planners International. It's a mouthful. But this is a methodology that we've used before with other school systems to determine the viability of a school to be used for whatever purpose it might be. And in this case, it was to determine if it could be used for a 3,000 student high school. So we use that methodology, and I'll walk through that with you here in just a moment. Okay, first of all, as I mentioned, our goal was to see if the campus could accommodate 3,000 students. At the time, the enrollment was 2,150, and that fluctuates almost weekly. Our methodology included a number of different visits and meetings. First of all, we met with the Collierville School District Administration, Mr. Acton, Mr. Simpson, and talked to them about what their needs and visions were for the school. Then we toured the campus. Our team of architects, mechanical, plumbing, structural, and civil engineers toured the campus. We met with the administration. We met with Chip at the school. The campus maintenance staff also walked us through and showed us some of the features, some of the problems that they had seen with the campus, so that make sure that we caught all the things that worked well and some of the things that need to be improved. As I mentioned, we met with Mr. Chip Blanchard. And one of the key things we did is that we visited during the school peak times, and we took our lives at risk there. It was pretty challenging. Those of you who've been there during either a class change, and I've got pictures I'll show you, it's really something. And then bus car pickup time is really something to experience as well. Then we conducted our facility condition assessment using the Council of Educational Facility Planners International checklist. And then we did the objective scoring, and I'll show you the results of that. And we looked at overall just the feasibility. How can we expand this campus to accommodate 3,000 students? And we had some conclusions. So our view included these two main points. How does the facility function today with 2,150 students? It's a campus designed for 2,000. Well, how does it function today? That was one set of glasses we looked at the facility with. And the other was with the view of, okay, how can we expand by really 50% to increase enrollment from what it was designed for, 2,000 students, to 3,000. Okay, so a little bit about the facility. I'm sure most of you know this facility as well or better than I do. But the campus is located on 54 acres on the northwest corner of Frank Road and North Byhalia Road. It's comprised of two major components. The original building was built in 1976 as a middle school. In 1994-95, the high school addition was added to comprise an entire campus of 280,000 square feet. So we looked at that campus with these six different categories in mind: the school site, structural mechanical building systems, the plant maintainability, building site and security, which is a big item which Sal will talk about in a little bit, educational adequacy, and then the environment for education. Okay, first of all, the school site. We looked at the strengths and the deficiencies of each of these components, each of these categories. First of all, the site does have a number of strengths. It's centrally located. There's good, easy access from Byhalia and Frank Roads. And it's really removed from any undesirable businesses and traffic. It's really in a pretty nice neighborhood. There's suitable soil, which is a strength. And then there's good pedestrian access. Even though the roads are busy, they're well improved, and it's easy to walk up and down Frank Road and Byhalia Road. So there's good pedestrian access. But there are a number of deficiencies for the site. First of all, it marginally accommodates the current enrollment that exists there now, 2,150 students. There's just no room for any sort of expansion anywhere. And it's certainly not large enough to accommodate 3,000 students, and we can show you a graphic that will support that. This is the 54-acre site. That red dashed line indicates the boundary. To the west is the city dump, the town dump, I guess I should say. The town owns that property. And then to the north, those are, of course, single-family residences. This is a 54-acre site. Now, what's not shown on this campus are the athletic fields, which are located at the elementary school. So the football stadium, the football locker rooms, and the varsity practice field is not on this campus. It's split, as you, I'm sure, know. Well, this is a 3,000 student high school that was recently completed in Aurora, Illinois. Now, there are dozens we could have picked, but this happens to be one that seemed to be a good case study for us to look at. That yellow line is 94 acres. Okay, it's right at 100 acres. And that site, I don't know if you can really see it, but there really isn't a lot of room to expand around the building. There's some two-story components. Looks like a detention facility here. A lot of athletic components, football stadium, parking. They have a tennis court facility here, and buses parked up there. There's really no room to expand. If this school wanted to go to 4,000 students, for instance, it'd be very difficult to do. But the thing that I think really we want to point out here is the size of the site at Frank Road and Bahalia is not large enough to accommodate a 3,000 student campus. Some of the other deficiencies, as I mentioned, the off-site track and football facilities are located at the elementary school, and that really contributes to traffic safety, travel safety, the inconvenience factor, and then the inefficiency of just the time it takes to get from this campus to the athletic complex to travel. Category number 2, structural mechanical systems. The building does have a number of strengths. The foundations, the bones of the building are really, overall, really good and free of cracks and free of deterioration. The fire protection system's in good condition, good water supply system, good electrical outlets and cabling, and the drainage of the site seems to be working pretty well. So those are really good positive attributes of the site. But there are deficiencies. The ductwork needs to be replaced. You can see some ductwork right there that needs to be replaced. The power system switchboard should be replaced, and then the roof, there are a number of places on the roof that hold water, and the roofing does need to be replaced. All things that can be done, but they certainly need to be done. About 75% of the mechanical units are in poor to fair condition and will need to be replaced soon. And then the toilets, the water closets are in poor condition. Again, not a relatively difficult fix, but something that needs to be addressed. Plant maintainability, third category. The strengths, really good materials on this campus. Low maintenance, good building shell, watertight shell. The windows and the brick system seem to keep the water out for the most part. The vertical surfaces, the roof, as I just mentioned, needs some help. The VCT floors, vinyl composition tile floor system, which is a bread and butter surface for most every school. That's a great product to have down, and they're easily maintained, and they're in relatively good condition. Plenty of electrical outlets for cleaning. So a lot of strengths for good plant maintainability. But there are some deficiencies, most notably the countertops in the restrooms are plastic laminate, and over time they'll just delaminate and have to be replaced. And that is occurring in the school, just about every restroom. And then the hardware is aging, it's just old, and it's a bit problematic, and there are a number of ADA non-compliant lock sets that would need to be replaced as well. Some other deficiencies, you can see that top picture. That's a janitor's closet, and you can see that they're also using it for storage and for the janitor's office primarily. So, and an ice machine, which I'm not, well, that's another subject, I suppose. But, probably shouldn't store those things together, but the schools do the best they can with the space they have. There's a lack of janitors in custodial space, just pretty much overall. And a lack of adequate site lighting as well. Regarding building safety and security, there are plenty of exits, plenty of good stairs that seem to be plenty wide enough to meet all the current codes. The panic hardware is placed in the proper manner where you can maneuver through the sets of doors as the flow of traffic to exit the building, which is exactly what you want to do. So there's plenty of wide hallways and wide stairwells and plenty of doors to get students out of the building safely. Regarding the parking lot, there are a number of deficiencies here. The student loading areas are just not segregated well from the parking areas. You typically want to separate your bus traffic from your car traffic and your parking from your loop road system. And there's just not room on this site to be able to separate those functions properly and adequately. And as a result, you end up with a number of situations like this that you're not always going to be able to prevent students from walking through parking lots, but there are ways to design these bus and traffic and car traffic lanes in a manner that you can really minimize vehicles and pedestrians crossing, and that is a problem at the existing school. And that's just another slide to reinforce that same point. The patterns just don't promote a good, safe flow. There also is a ditch located on the site, which is not far from the football practice field and the baseball field, and that has to be crossed in order to get down to the baseball field. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the varsity track and football facilities are located off-site, where they're not nearly as convenient as they are, and that does provide some safety concerns as students have to travel every day to practice at that facility. So it just adds another layer of safety and security issues to the campus. Educational adequacy, the strengths. The curriculum classrooms are grouped in the appropriate locations, which seems to work very well. The career technical educational, the CTE programs are all located and grouped in the proper area. VOTEC classes, I've still got VOTEC on my mind, it's CTE these days. The family and consumer sciences has a really nice built-in classroom, plenty of built-in equipment, really functions very well, nice natural light coming in, really a well-designed space. And the classrooms, generally, most of them are properly sized. But there are some deficiencies. Some of the classrooms are either configured in a way or too small to provide some group learning activities within the classrooms. It really does prevent a different type of learning experience that teachers may want to use these days. The library, although the square footage is appropriate, it's a pretty uninspiring space. There's no natural light. The furniture, again, I think the school does the very best they can do with what they have, but if you go in other libraries these days, in K-12 schools, you're going to see that space just really knocked out and just provide a place where students...
Determining attendance zones, but we still are going to have to address middle school enrollment. We've got a new high school, second high school, also got to build another middle school. Still got to do some renovation of the existing, but most importantly, community unity. We have heard over and over and over again that this community wants one high school. Again, I say, I reaped the benefits of a split community for many years. But the citizens of Collierville, in my view, voted for their own school system for the residents of Collierville to be attending schools in Collierville. So community, one town, one school. One town, one school. I hear it over and over. And obviously economies of scale. More administration, more operating costs, all those things that go along with building additional facilities. You heard Mr. Fleming say we explored a classroom addition at the current high school campus. We also looked at places to place portable buildings, or as the teachers affectionately refer to them as learning cottages. Not the best way to use a facility, but is probably going to have to be a temporary solution for us over the next couple of years as we move toward the higher enrollment. Y'all, we went all the way back to kindergarten. If you go and look at every grade level in all of Collierville schools, with the exception of the early grades, kindergarten and first grade. There are roughly 600 plus in every grade. Our elementary school enrollment kind of took a backslide during the economy downturn. Okay? We've explored that. But based on that, at a minimum, you're going to have 600 at a grade level. 600 times 4 to high school is 2,400 with no growth at all coming up. Okay? So lots of things that we have to look at as we've explored this. We looked at configuring and changing grade structures at schools. Still a possibility moving forward as you hopefully build a new facility of some type. There are a lot of options there. Terre Oaks Elementary used to be K through 6th grade. Okay? In order to handle, we've looked at that, and there's not enough room to keep a whole grade at any of those elementary schools. Based on that and all of those options that we explored, we brought back to the board a recommendation, incorporated the results of the feasibility study, and asked the board to give us the authorization to start exploring building a new high school. And that is where we are. Okay? We are in the middle of that process right now. This meeting tonight is part of that process. The survey that the town sent out, part of that process, a starting point for gathering input. But that process, my charge to the architects as we move through this is, I go back to an opportunity for the town of Collierville and its residents to look 40 years, to look 80 years, and plan for the future of a community that is going to grow. It is going to grow. I'm going to introduce a young man in a minute. Part of the process, and Scott talked about it a little bit, he went to the high school. He went to the middle school. He talked to kids. He talked to teachers. He talked to staff members. He talked to coaches. He talked to community members. They gathered input on what they would like to see if you just had an ability to form a high school, a comprehensive high school of the future. So as part of that process, I'm going to introduce Mr. Sal Faraci. Before I do that, I want to hit on the price a little bit. I live in Collierville also. Okay? I pay property taxes as well, so I know. My mother lives in Collierville. She's 86 years old. I understand that as well. That price, we're still in the process of forming and designing what this facility is going to look like. Right? That price is based on the industry standard price per square feet. We went back to the most recent buildings that were built in Shelby County Schools, Arlington High School, Southwind High School. Price per square feet, capacity of 2,000, extrapolated that piece out, did some approximations. We have not nailed down a site. We don't know the purchase site. We've talked about furniture, fixtures, and equipment that are part of that price. But that price of getting up that you have been quoted, it is an estimation. Could be more, could be less. But in order to build a 500,000 square feet facility, the cost per square feet is consistent with any facility built in legacy Shelby County Schools. We have an opportunity to do something better than that. We have an opportunity to form a facility that the people of Collierville, your kids, my grandkids, can be proud of. So I wanted a complete buy-in to the process and get everybody's opinion as much as possible through this. So as one of the architectural firms that we've employed, Mr. Sal Faraci with the Renaissance Group, is going to talk to you about an ongoing survey. I'll wrap up with that in just a minute, but can kind of give you some idea of what students, faculty members, and all are telling us as we move forward with the planning. All of this is a process. All of this is a plan. We are not there yet. There is not a design out there yet. Okay? We're early on. I'm pushing them to move quicker. Okay? I'm getting anxious because of us as we move forward with the planning. All of this is a process. All of this is a plan. We are not there yet. There is not a design out there yet. Okay? We're early on. I'm pushing them to move quicker. Okay? I'm getting anxious because I see where we are. But Mr. Sal Faraci come up from Renaissance Group, and he'll briefly run through the survey.
So where are we? Right now, we're in the very early stages of gathering information. Part of the process of an architect is to take and get a lot of information, assemble it in a form that will result in the production of a new school, a new project, or a new facility. Part of this process was, as Mr. Atkins had said earlier, for us to go out and interview both the existing high school staff, teachers, and students, along with survey information that I'm going to go through right now. This is a survey that's currently up on the website for Collierville Schools. You can get to it through the news and events, although that may be the long way to get there. I heard there was a link. But currently, what this survey is representing is just information that we wanted to glean for us to be able to build a new high school. What information would be needed? What would this school look like? What would its needs be? What is the feeling that you would have in this new school? Obviously, majority of the recipients or the responders to this survey were parents. I would think that they would have a pretty vested interest here. I think there was something interesting here is that we have a pretty good cross-section of grades represented from K to 12. So parents representing all of these individual grades. Top 10 reasons, or top 10 priorities for the new high school. Obviously, security and safety, prime concerns. As you can see in number 1, number 2, number 4, and actually number 8. Those all really tied together. Latest technology and features. A STEM program that will allow the STEM facilities to grow. An emphasis on quality versus cost. And you can see that both illustrated in number 7 and also number 9. And an outstanding indoor and outdoor athletic facility on the same campus. These next 2 questions really deal with the existing school, and you'll see the third response on both of these they look similar, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But top current strengths for the school: location, faculty and staff, and educational facility. Athletic facilities. Deficiencies: capacities, overcrowding, as you saw in Scott's slides, parking, traffic, big issues. Athletic location. This is really talking more specifically about being located on the same campus. Critical needs the new high school must meet: technology, top academic STEM program, education, security and safety, parking, athletics, and design. These are all information that we will use to carry forward in our design process. The next 2 slides are Wordles, if everybody's familiar with that term. And basically, the last couple of questions on the survey dealt with more information that was typed in through the survey. So the more these words show up, the bigger and bolder they are. So that's just a representation graphically of how many times you saw these words show up. Obviously campus, art, high school, big issues there. We're going to take this information and break it down much more than that, but we're just showing you a representation of what the survey was telling us. And these were the just miscellaneous or other comments that were a part of that survey. We will take this information, and what the information we're going to look at right now is basically the beginnings of a program. We've established some size parameters. We've looked at some needs, and now we're going to be applying what we heard to these functions. Academics, computer labs, science labs, STEM facilities, CTE, or WILTEC, as Scott said earlier. What we heard in the survey is we want facilities adequate enough to provide for these needs. Fine arts, an auditorium, space for choir, band, strings, fine arts classes, athletic facilities. It's hard when you have facilities that are located in two different places to function correctly. When we look at this, an athletic complex that would house all of the needs, football, baseball, soccer, lacrosse, tennis, physical education, special education, sensory rooms, therapy rooms, devices that would allow the students and the teachers to interact with each other. Cafeteria, what we heard loud and clear. Cafeteria, not enough light. The facility would have to provide a big enough area to allow for students to be able to eat their lunch in a timely manner and still make their class schedule. So we have to look at the biggest complaint we heard that we don't have enough time for lunch. It's not enough time. I don't eat lunch in the lunchroom. Library, enough light to make it a more inviting place with different types of seating. Distance learning, be able to dial into the school and pick up a class. Those types of things, or information we're hearing. Site considerations. Appropriate pedestrian circulation, vehicular, traffic flow in and out of site. All of these are main issues that we're taking into consideration in the site selection process, but also both internal and external of the site that we select.
Everybody hanging in? Almost there. Where are we now? We've thrown a lot of figures, stats, our views, looking out toward the future. The survey that Mr. Faraci referenced is still on our website. Town of Collierville has information. Everything that we have, for the most part, given you tonight is on a website, either through the school website, colliervilleschools.org, or the Town of Collierville website. We ask that you pick up a comment card coming in. If you wish to fill out a comment, more than one, whatever, we'll collect those. We will then respond to those on our either FAQ page, or if I need clarification, don't be surprised if you get a phone call, because that's part of this process. It's wide open. I want to hear your concerns because this is such a big thing for the community. The last three probably would excite me as much as anything. We've got capacity. We've got a problem that we have to deal with, or we wouldn't be here tonight. We've got capacity issues in our high school. We have overcrowding capacity issues in our middle schools. We are bringing to our Board of Mayor and Aldermen a solution that we think will take care of many of those problems for the next many years. A large high school, anticipating growth, quality facility for the town, convert the existing high school to a middle school and other uses. Career tech, you heard it mentioned a lot. STEM. Professional Development Center for the list can go on and on of things, because you've got a facility that's obviously big enough for 2,000 plus kids, And a middle school will obviously not be that much, but that core infrastructure that's older, we can use it. And if you think that it's not important for the future, let me give you a frame of reference. The building that we are in right now as district offices, who would have thought that in 1936, when it was built as part of the WPA, that we would be sitting in it now, district offices, 80 years later. That's the type of legacy that I want to leave. That's the type of foresight that town leaders had way before us. That's the responsibility of us to pay it forward, leave it. Let's leave it in great shape for our kids. Here's what excites me. We're in it with the town of Collierville. As I said a while ago, we are joined at the hip, and they get tired of me calling them and talking to them. Okay? They are so responsive and so respectful of us. I see opportunities for us. This is a booming, growing town. If we move forward, build a new facility, use existing facilities, town of Collierville staff members and officials are salivating over some of the opportunities. I want any new facility and any of partnerships, I want them to be partnerships with our town. You have kids here. You have kids that there's not enough practice space for them to go practice a sport right now. This opens up the door for partnerships with the town. More space to do things. I want a partnership and a facility in the new high school. That's a town of Collierville room. We talked about it in the design phase. That's kind of one of my ambitions is I get to contribute to the dreams also. But I want it to be something that when my great-grandkids come through, your great-grandkids come through, they're going to say, wow, those folks were pretty smart and had a lot of foresight back then. And it's an opportunity for this town to separate itself from the rest of this county and the rest of this region. I mentioned Chip Blanchard. People coming every day. Kindergarten kickoff tonight at elementary schools. There's nothing more exciting than seeing the upcoming kindergartners. How exciting is that? If we could just contain that joy and excitement forever, we'd have it lit, wouldn't we? Okay? Here's what most excites me. There is such an opportunity for this community moving forward. Folks, I unretired so I could be a part of it. Okay? That's how exciting. I am really sorry we do have to get out of here. The Munchkins, I can hear them. They're already coming in back here and apologize. But, you know, quite honestly, please leave us comments. Please email our website. If you're old school, like I am, and it's not, you don't want to email or send a tweet or whatever we do these days, call us. 861-7000. Leave a message. Somebody will call you. We have talked to many people today. And I didn't answer any of your questions or concerns. If I didn't answer them today, put them on the comment card. Ms. Claney, Mr. Burton will pick them up. It's full disclosure. This is nothing that, hey, we're public servants. We're public officials. That's part of what we do. We'll take it and we'll respond to you. And we'll handle it in that way. But I hope that we have given you enough information tonight that as we move forward, you'll participate in the survey, give us your thoughts, give us your questions that we did not answer. Tell us, hey, I promise you on some of the comment cards last night, we got told what some people think about us, I promise. Okay? That's okay. But that's part of it. I'm excited about the opportunity. I look on it as challenges. Okay? But what an exciting time to be in Collierville. Thank you for your attendance. Fill out a comment card, turn them in when you get back, and we have to kind of get out of here for the Wizard of Oz practice, and I apologize.